Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to your reading. I am very excited to do today's reading, not for any particular reason. I'm just that dork that's really excited to be here today, so I hope you are too. Okay, so I'm going to start with an oracle card and some tarot. I think I'm going to try to lay both of these out and just pick like this. I like this. I like the fan. I think the fan stays. I'm a fan of the fan. All right. And then why do I feel like I want to shuffle these? Ooh, I kind of just want to pull. I'm not really sure what to do with these. We'll just leave them out. But I feel like it's that one. Okay, we have the Seer. We have the Seer. I kind of want to read that first before we really get into the tarot. What number are we looking at? 45. All right. The Seer invites you to trust your intuition and follow it as it leads you forward. You may feel lost when it appears that your hunch is taking you in circles or even through a maze, but the hidden realms don't follow the rules of a two-dimensional map. Trust your gut and allow your perception of your circumstances to widen, to include the nuances and subtle cues that you normally miss if you take things at face value. The Seer has gifted you with his magic. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Your vision is clear. First thing I'm seeing there is that the path might be foggy. It might be confusing. You might feel like you're going in circles, but your vision is clear. Do you know how hard it is to clarify your own vision? To separate through so many things until you can go, this is what resonates with me. This is what I want. This is what I'm truly driven to pursue. Even if it feels like sometimes there's not a way to do it or you have to go through a lot of different things. So I just want to point that out, that like that in itself, you have to work hard to get to that point. You have to work hard to have ambition, to feel that deeper sense of connection to something within you. Okay, let's see this. Okay, we have the Ten of Pentacles, and this card kind of wants to come out with it, so we'll let it. So you've got the Ten of Pentacles and the Hanged Man. This immediately gives me the energy of like rethinking how to do family life or some kind of like established group that you're in. Maybe this is kind of like reworking things with grandparents, with parents, with spouses, with children, with pets. Kind of just trying to make it all, like add it all in, see what works, see what doesn't, and then try to kind of adjust what you need to. Also, you seem to be having some different perspectives of things. Like you're opening up to different perspectives of dead fish. And hear me out. There are, like, what it feels like is there's some skeleton fish around you. Just go with the analogy for a minute. They feel like they're not quite whole or not quite like hardy fish. And maybe you've been seeing them as almost like dead fish for a minute, like lifeless. And this is you trying to appreciate and respect and accept that they're just skeleton fish, meaning some people just can't go deeper, or some people are meant to live in different depths and like find things there. and it might change the way that they appear to other people who are in different atmospheres in the water, you know? So maybe you're more like a tropical fish, or you're kind of like a little bouncy flounder going around like saying hey, and maybe whoever you're around is more of like coming across as almost like a skeleton fish compared to your bubbly and bright nature or your kind of willingness to be in the world and like to really be submerged in it and to be changed by it and to be a part of it, you know? I think this is you kind of having some kind of a different perspective around that person. And trying to like accept that, and then trying to kind of follow your own like lone wolf energy. Like, where is that taking you? And also trying to have this understanding within yourself that like the lone wolf doesn't mean you're going off in selfishness. Sorry, you can't really see this. It just means like you're finding your own journey. And I think it's actually aiding in how you're learning to accept and not try to change whoever it is that you're around. And I think that can be the confusing part, because it's like depending on how the person's responding to that energy within you, or even how you are conditioned to respond to it within yourself, that can change a lot. So, or that can change the experience a lot. You know what I'm saying? How you experience seeking yourself. Because that's really what's happening here, is you're seeking a vision that you have. And without all of the strings attached, that probably would feel quite good and you know, probably wouldn't feel confusing. But there are strings attached, and that's just human nature. And we're not trying to get rid of the strings, we're just trying to find the way to get to the vision, right? So there is like a firm and lasting relationship that you're a part of. I kind of want to pull one on a clarifier on that, but we'll give it a minute. You do have security in your career. Some of you guys might need to hear that too, is that the career path that you're choosing is a secure one. Sometimes that can feel like, sometimes it can feel different than what it actually is, meaning it can be stable and steady and secure, but it can actually feel like you're not fully guaranteed it. But sometimes that's just a fear, you know what I'm saying? And so your position here is coming out as like there is a secure career for you here. In home and loving family. So there is love, there is a sense of home. There's a sense of like a haven that you're around. But again, with all of the confusion and stuff, like it might be that there just needs to be some reminders of like, look at what you've created within these areas of life. I think if you looked around, you'd actually see that you have created these moments or these spaces to exist. Maybe, and I was just talking with my friend about this, maybe you just are still learning how to live within those spaces yourself instead of just know how to create and cultivate them. New contracts or investments. This could be something that you're planning on, or something that you're researching, or doing some of that more, you know, looking into financial matters, looking into different things to be able to pursue kind of things that play out more long term. It says a universe of tranquility and harmony. I think overall you feel really good in your world, even if it's confusing. I think that you know that what you're doing is like you're making good and sound decisions for yourself. But there's some, you know, rockiness around along the way. And I think that you're actually coming across as like being okay with that. So let me pull some clarifiers on this, because I don't think that we got to what I was kind of looking for in this. Although if the theme is that everything's a little bit confusing except for the vision, then maybe that's just how it's supposed to be, you know, which is fine. No harm in looking, though. Yeah, it's bringing me back to things that were just said. There could be some big changes to try to cultivate home to be that way again, too. Maybe this is also, some of you guys might be kind of like moving into your own support, like I support myself energy. Maybe you're taking steps to physically implement those things, like to have physical resources, to have, like, maybe that's career, maybe that's an actual resource that you use, maybe that's like kind of working through being financially secure. There's some things that you're working on here to actually stabilize this to a point where I think you feel you can enjoy it, is kind of how I'm interpreting that. Yeah, so some of you guys could be in the middle of, you know, some business deals, some contracts, some things that involve kind of the back and forth of negotiation. But I think it's in your favor if that's the case. So what else we got? We have the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is willing to go beyond all obstacles for truth, for love, and for principles. This is an individual who is tied to a challenging road, yet is not without resources. He hangs balanced upon the sphere of time, yet his tenacity and determination will go within the inner depths. Yet his tenacity and determination to go within the inner depths is demonstrated by his connection to his inner wisdom. He pays attention to his dreams and the messages that rise into consciousness through his intuition. He walks the solitary road, the path less traveled, yet is firmly set on it, accepting of the sacrifices along with the honors. This card may point to a delay or period of waiting, gestation, secrets, or shifting one's view, turning things upside down to comprehend. It indicates a time of rest and meditation to reevaluate the situation. There's something about seeing something from someone else's point of view. There's time spent in that energy. It's like there's a good balance of time in your view and time in theirs. There will be rewards in store for hard work and hardship, honor and sacrifice for beliefs. It signifies fiery passion and devotion to principles, a faithful champion of truth. So I think that this is, I think maybe some of the confusing energy that could realistically be going on, like in what you can see with your eyes and not just like all in the spiritual realm, is that you're probably trying to rework something with someone and it's confusing and it's difficult, but you're trying and your heart's in it, and you're finding that there is difficulty and obstacles in that path, but that you still want to be on it. So this is you trying to have patience for the way that it kind of like breaks you open to learn these things, while also dealing with what being broken open feels like within your own life. You know, like just how much just personal time and like inner space that requires to process those things. I think you're processing two things at once and you're trying to stay open. And yeah, I just think you're noticing that it's difficult, and it's like not for the faint of heart, but you're doing it because your nature says that that's something that you are capable of and that you want to pursue, is to see both sides and move through it. It's a very dynamic way to be, and I think that is, although it's difficult, I think that's kind of the energy that makes the world go round, you know. Yeah, and I think that some of the confusion is like, should it be this difficult? And it's kind of like, I don't know if it should be difficult, but I know that there's no way that path would be easy. So if you're wondering why there's so many obstacles and why it's so draining and why there's a lot of things going on, it's kind of just like, if you're looking around and everything else seems easier when it's in other people's lives, consider that maybe they haven't bit off something that's challenging. Maybe they're in their comfort zone. Because I do have this energy here where it's almost like you might feel less than or bad about yourself, that it's so difficult. And I think that the message here is just to say, like, the difficulty and the struggle are not what you should base this path on. The vision that you originally had to be more open-minded, to mend things, to have community, to have these people in your life that you love, even though there are obstacles. Like, that's you fighting for what you believe in and doing it in a very real way. And if it doesn't really matter what that makes you look like or how it makes you come off to other people who might have more like peace and harmony going on or whatever, or just from an outside perspective. It just matters, like, do you still believe in the path that you're on? And if you do, I think it's just take another step, you know, like, don't worry about the contrast that you might be seeing between yourself and others at this time, because you're going through something totally different. I think I also had to remind myself, and I continually have to remind myself about that, having a child who has special needs is just like, it's easy to just feel bad for like kind of dropping the ball on certain things or not doing what you see your peers doing. But I think sometimes when I remember, like, well, this takes so much sacrifice, and this takes so much energy and so much dedication and so much learning, that sometimes you're not always able to do the things you want to do in the capacity that you want to do them. But that's okay, because I've already established that this is something that I will stick with no matter what. You know, like, this is something that I'm dedicated to. And I know my role in that. And maybe that's where this is kind of coming through, is that, like, maybe you're still establishing your role in this. Maybe you know what you want, but some of the confusion is that you don't always know what your role wants to be. And when it shifts, that it's okay that it's shifting, and to just like lean into that. So one of the ways that it can shift is that some of this is going to be almost like grieving some of these things that have happened. It's not all going to be, I'm trying to see this other person's perspective. I'm trying to meet this person halfway. Sometimes it's, I need to take a step back and like let myself grieve things, even though this person is right in front of me, and I'm working through things with them. Like, there is still a space here where you're probably healing from certain things too. Whether that's things that have happened with them or things that have happened before or outside of your dynamic with them. And I think that's well, let's get a clarifier. That's a space where you need to be gentle with yourself. That's a space where you need to have compassion for how you're experiencing your grief or your processing of things or your healing. It's a space that requires us to be mindful and gentle to ourselves in a world that just doesn't understand what those two words always mean. And so it's just up to us to like cultivate that in that space. So what do you need to know about that? There's something unspoken that you know that you've like suffered or that has gone on here that maybe the other person doesn't like to admit or talk about. This is a relationship reading for sometimes I can read this for different things. This is absolutely a relationship aspect here of the reading. And so, and maybe other things will come out, but like, I think I'm talking about a specific relationship between you and one person. Is that certain things have happened, they haven't been discussed, therefore they haven't been like validated. I think that you are maybe confused about some of those things because it's almost like, should I deal with the things that we haven't brought up, or should I be dealing with things that have been brought up? When you notice that you are grieving something, the most important thing you can do is validate what has happened and why you are reacting. Like, that's the reason that why you're having the reaction. I think spending time in that energy and saying like, yes, that did happen to me. And even if they don't admit it, or even if they don't understand it, that is what's happened to me, and that is a wound. And that is something that I deserve to look at and to incorporate in this path, because it's absolutely a part of me. I wonder if we can get one more. Judgment. Some of this is like, it's not being very specific, but I think some of this is that the person's been having judgments about you that are like more on the negative side of how you're processing things. And I think that can make it very difficult. And I think this is just saying like, this either is you trying to say you've experienced something and the other person not validating that, and you needing to heal from them almost like gaslighting you or something, or just not understanding, or not able to validate, or whatever it is. Or this is that this is that you feel like they constantly influence how you see yourself, meaning they judge you enough to the point where you start to judge yourself. And so in order to, like, it's almost like this cycle of like, you can't escape that it all comes back onto you, you know? And so what I'm seeing for this basically, because I feel like I'm getting kind of confused talking about it, but talking about the problem, but I think I can talk about the solution clearly, is if someone is not validating what you're going through and you're in this partnership with them, I think an important thing is to know that it's okay to detach from their point of view when it is denying yours, when it's denying your very real experience. Because some people just are not going to be able to meet us because they haven't gone that deep within themselves. And we're not going to be able to meet some people because we haven't met ourselves in that way either. But it's up to you. The choice is yours to detach when you feel like you can no longer grieve the original thing that you needed to grieve, and where it just keeps piling up, that there's just more circulating judgments about how you're grieving what you're grieving, why you're grieving, that you're grieving. All I'm seeing is that you're sensitive to certain things and that you're absolutely allowed to be. And that if you try to throw those sensitivities under the rug more, it's not going to get better. But if you can process them and sit with them, then I think that is what helps. There was something else that came up here. Yeah. And so for some of you guys, this person might not really understand how they're affecting you. And for others, if they do know how they're affecting you, you've told them, they don't believe you. Like there's a difference there, right? And if it's one thing if they don't know how to help you, it's another thing if they refuse to let you get help or refuse to acknowledge that you do need help with something. Like that's too much control, you know. There's something else that I was going to say, but I can't really find it. So I'm going to pull another card. You know what it feels like? It feels like you're in a dynamic where someone won't let you move forward because they don't understand that where you're at is valid. That's just what it seems like. So I'm going to get some cards on like maybe what Spirit can say about that, because I feel like I'm trying to say something to be helpful and it's just not coming out. Like it's not, I'm just not clicking with it. The things that you're going through are part of your vision. You have to go through all of these recognitions that come up within you. You have to validate them in order to go on your path. Having the original vision that you had requires that you move through everything that's going on within you, and these are all the real things that you have to work with. This path takes time. It takes time to recognize these things. It takes time to accept them, to validate them, to, I guess, like honor them. To get to a point where you say, thank you for showing up, instead of go away, you're messing up my life. You're learning that right now. I think one thing that might be helpful to hear is that the other person hasn't learned that yet. Like you're going on this path and you're probably going to show them how to go on it. Or you're probably going to influence them heavily in showing them that it's not all for nothing. But the biggest thing on your path is staying steady in each movement and going, I know it looks like chaos. I know it looks like confusion. But if this is the puddle that I step in today, this is the puddle that I deal with today. Just plain and simple. Because you're taking one foot in front of the other, and your intuition is leading where this path goes. But you can't see the path. You can only make the path, but you can see the vision. And so sometimes when we try to accomplish the vision before we've taken another step, we can think we're taking the wrong step every time we put one foot in front of the other. Because why are we going in circles and why are we going left when we can see that the path ahead is straight? But the thing is the path isn't laid out till you lay it out, but you get to the end no matter what, because that's what lives in your heart. That's where your desire is. You have to trust at some point everything within you is leading you there. And when it gets too heavy to hold the vision, you have to let it go and trust that it's always going to be there, because if you look back at your life, it's continually come back around. Whatever it is for you, even when it leaves for a little or goes dormant, you feel like it's water to your soul the minute that you reconnect with that vision and start pursuing it again. That's because it lives in you, and it's gonna keep trying to come out. If it gets too heavy to hold on to that and makes you sacrifice being able to take another step, that's when it's okay to detach from that, the vision, the dream, the end goal, and go, I know that what I'm going to do right now might seem like I am letting go of my dream, because it almost can contradict it. And I think in this instance, I know that distancing myself from this person so that I can grieve something by myself, because that's the only way that I'm going to be able to grieve it right now, but I need to get that need met. It's going to make you feel like, why is part of my path to be with this person or to have this with this person, to step away from them? There's something in your brain that's going to go red alert, red alert. And then it's your job to tell that red alert, it's okay. I heard the alarm. I silenced it. It's a false alarm. Not all systems are haywire. It's just a triggered alarm. Sometimes that's what's happening. Let me go and grieve. When I get back to it, watch how I can connect better. Watch how it helped me get to my goal. But you have to get used to the ebb and flow of being with this person and being away, and being with this person and being away. And I think that's something, that's just something new, But that's part of kind of what your path is calling for, is independence with community or with connection. It wants you to be your whole self. It doesn't want you to lose yourself in a dynamic. So if you feel like you've been losing yourself to a dynamic, this is the remedy, And your body knows it and your soul knows it, but it's taking a little bit to convince your mind that that's what's going on. What's something that I can tell you kind of finitely? I think something else is the goal that you're trying to get to. Stop judging your own dreams. Let your dream just live on. Let it just live and be free. Let it be its own thing. And then use your body and your mind and your spirit to try to make it happen. But I think that you're judging yourself for what you want. You're judging your own desires right now. And I think that something that might be helpful to know is your desires are absolutely a sign of health if they exist in you. And if you've gotten to a point where you're on that road to pursue them, that's a wonderful thing. And it's scary and it's crazy and it's whatever, but it's a sign of health. Ambition is a sign of health. So I think that accepting and validating not just the road that you're on, but where you want to get to, and saying, yeah, that's a thing that humans can go for. That's okay. Almost if you have trouble with that, try picturing someone else having that goal, and then try picturing your own response to that. You would be so encouraging, right? So it's just time to encourage yourself, yeah, you've hit a road bump. You have hit a wall. You've gone in circles. That's okay. Keep going on it, Don't change the dream or try to change where your passions are just because you've run into some obstacles. Like those are 100% going to be there. What are some of these obstacles that you might be running into? Okay, well, we talked about that one. I think coming to this equilibrium within yourself where there's this balanced forward momentum despite the chaos or the confusion, where you actually feel good even though it's there in the background instead of like put off by it. I want to get one more here. I'm going to read that one. Look at it, and then on the bottom we got Wheel of Fortune, which is getting off the merry-go-round that you probably feel you've been on. Your body's, or your soul, your spirit, all these, the accumulation of everything within you is helping you to get out of some kind of a rut or something that you feel like you've been in. And it's all trying to be this, like, it's almost like someone who's trying to be mysterious, but they're coming off as like aloof. And you're like, oh, I don't know what you're doing. And on the other side of that, they're like, I want you to come towards me. Like it's like a misunderstanding, like a misfire in a synapse between you and what you want. You know, like sometimes you might interpret it differently, but when you connect to those feelings again, you might go, oh yeah, this feels like home again. And I feel like I can do this. I feel capable. I feel confident and strong in it. So we have the Dreamer of Wands here. She urges us, I'm just going to kind of pick and choose from here. She urges us to affirm our vows of dedication to inner principles. She embraces all. She offers the stars of acceptance and charity of compassion towards others, regardless of beliefs. Her gift of unconditional hospitality. She radiates the energy of the High Priestess, which is here, under reliability and judgment. Your judgment is a reliable thing in your life. I think that it can be a reliable thing in your life. But when your judgment goes against you, after it's already been decided, it's like your gut felt something and then your brain told you to drop that. It's like that's something big that's trying to find clarity right now. Dedicated to harmony and peace. Through her assistance, we can find attunement with planetary laws, flowing with the cycles, ruling with openness. She demonstrates creativity and is a visionary, often forging ahead into unexplored territories in thought and in action. She displays either the burst of enthusiasm and boundless energy of creating, or shines light within the dormancy of contemplation. She's a free spirit, a leader who is not bound to any one path, but is always open to the new. She takes her dreams and visions and runs with them to new places in thought and place. She's crowned by her soul's path, the rising dove, which is forever her light and her wings. Her gaze is upon her true incarnational path, and as such, is not thrown off balance by life. In a reading, she represents support and protection from one who wishes a union. Great harmony, the flowing of ideas, the acceptance of difference, hospitality and charity towards all. An individual who is discoverer, creator, explorer of the unknown, deeply passionate and energetic, a leader. I also think with all the things that are going on, something that you're healing is your own self-talk and validation, Maybe this is like a path that has set you in motion based on just your own personal desires, that is also healing things that have gone unhealed, ungrieved, unacknowledged. Like maybe that, like, how often have you heard someone reiterate your own dream and vision to you, paired with encouragement? I think something that's healing on this path is that you find that within yourself. And it does say leader, so it's kind of like, are you also maybe lighting your own candle, and this is eventually going to be something where you show others how to light theirs too, because it's new, because it's undiscovered, because it's, and where everyone would have to go down this personal path themselves to figure it out. They would have to also work through what they're given and what they've experienced, and fight against people who want them to think a certain way about situations when they know how they feel about them. Like, you might feel like you're the only one doing it in your circle or in your family or whatever, but I think ultimately there's so many other people that share this same, that resonate with this path, and in that way of viewing it, of like, it is full of confusion, but I want it still. Like, I won't stop. I won't stop wanting it. I think it might just not be, either you're kind of the anomaly where you're at, or other people don't feel comfortable talking about these things, but they're doing them. But I think, like, knowing you have some camaraderie and some community that maybe even is like hidden or unspoken, I think sometimes that could be helpful too. An individual who is discoverer, creator, explorer of the unknown, deeply passionate and energetic, and a leader. Like, come on. If you didn't grow up in church, that sounds like an insult, but it's supposed to be an encouraging thing. Okay. I always thought that was kind of funny how, I don't know if it's like more radical churches or something that do that, where they're like, come on. And you're like, what? What'd I do wrong? And they're like, no, keep going. Okay, anyways. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I can feel my brain getting there. So we're going to pull one for, oh, this one wanted to come out too. The Curse of the Middle World. I'll just take that as is and flow within it. There's this thing that I'm personally working through, and maybe you are too, where the world is one way, and sometimes to be in it, you think you have to work with what it is. And you do to a degree. The world can be one way, and you can be your way, and you can understand and learn the world and understand what to expect and when it's not going to give you what you need, and then understand when you're going to pull back and still get your own needs met as a person who is in this world but not of it. You know, you operate in this society, you operate in whatever it is, wherever you are globally, like, but you feel different than it. And I think the goal for me is to establish what I know about the world and to have sound judgment about that, so that I can know what I have to do to be myself in it. And when I have to detach, and when I have to spend more me time, or when I have to accept that things are happening in it that I don't agree with, but that are clearly a part of it. I think also that's what you're learning with this person, is like they're your little middle world. They're the person who has maybe adapted well into normalcy of your society, but that's not what's normal for you, and you are allowed to be different from them and still love them and still support them and still support a relationship between the two of you. But take your breaks, like refuel, find the food that nourishes you when the things that nourish them don't do that for you. Because this just screams to me that you're different than your surroundings and that you're absolutely allowed to be, but refocusing on that you're that way instead of questioning why you're that way, and just building up your foundation so that you can continue to be that way and not feel that you're wrong for not fitting in or whatever. That's the biggest challenge of this path. I think a lot of the times it's probably felt like it's the thing that should deter you from going on this path. But in fact, I believe it is actually the thing that is the strength that's required to pursue something like this. And that it's possible, it's just not always, it's not a common possibility. You know, like it's not something where you see people doing this left and right. You might have heard of people doing this. You might see people doing this few and far between, or only people who are in a spotlight, like nationally for it, or globally, or on the media or something. But I think sometimes our brain can trick us and be like, oh, I'm not that person. I'm not that important. I'm not that. And it's kind of like, like, which energy do you feel better in? Do you feel better in adapting to the world as it is, or balancing and redistributing your energy as needed to be who you are? And does that also trickle down and flow into the other people that you're affecting in life in a good way? So remember your motivations when the path is confusing. Like, remember what you're drawn to, what your passion tells you to go for. And when the getting to the end goal seems too difficult, focus on just what is. Like, spend time in that, the 3D and the 5D of it. Because the goal is never that you just stop and cut out. The goal is that you learn to walk it based on how you handle every day within it. So that's enough preaching from me today. Yeah. It's self-sufficiency, but it's in a very, it's almost like you could also feel like you're creating self-sufficiency, but in a personally harmonious way in this world that doesn't always guarantee a spot to be able to do that, you know? It could be that you're doing that, like this is where your business, your whatever, you have the mind of someone who is compassionate and who is a good leader because they have like a really balanced masculine and feminine. Or this could be that whatever this is that you become in this life is someone who is supportive of not only you, but generations to come, as people who can seek what they need to seek to be themselves and to do what they need to do. That's their rightful choice, and to provide resources for them to be able to do it. Because this guy, it's that Arabic proverb is what I always relate to the Lord of Pentacles, to the King of Pentacles, is the good man plants trees whose shade he knows he'll never sit in. Which I want to also say is that I do think, yes, I like that quote, but also, yes, I think that you're supposed to sit in this shade in this lifetime as well. Like, I think that that's why you're bringing it in. Two things can be true. We really like the quote, but we really want you to, we want you to plant the garden and then to enjoy it, you know? So I don't know who we is. Maybe the universe. I don't know. That's my time. I'm gonna go pick up my kid now. So thanks for being here today. Thank you for lending your beautiful, beautiful energy to the channel. And I will see you in another reading. All right. Bye, guys.